Hello, Nikki Scott here, UK Hypopressives. This month's vlog topic, very close to my heart, all about mental health. I just share a little bit about myself before I start talking, but I suppose I experience and am experiencing mental health issues. When I first had my children, that would be the first point. And then when there was a dramatic life event, for me, that was the breakdown of my marriage of 21 years. And then finally, the menopause, which was fairly unexpected. So, yes, for me, it's been there, it's been in the background, and it's been something that obviously now I'm very in tune with myself and I can recognize the symptoms and try not to be medicated, but try and do stuff that helps me holistically so that I don't really need to go on to medication anymore. But at one point in my life, I was a bit of a mess, and so therefore, yes, I did need to go down that route. So obviously, I'm not saying you shouldn't be medicated, but for me, I don't react that well, and it's not very good for me long term. So I know now to recognise the symptoms, and hopefully I can manage them with lifestyle changes and taking supplements. So that's just a little bit about me. So I thought I'd kind of cover those three major things, and maybe some of that might resonate with you. So firstly, for me, when I got pregnant, I'd waited quite a long time to have children, and was ecstatic at the news that at 32 I was pregnant with twins. And although people tried to put me off and say that, sorry, my dog's going to bark in the background, that it wasn't all going to be joyous and wonderful, I convinced myself that it was. And I was very shocked and slid very quickly into postnatal depression after I had my twins. I also had some pelvic floor dysfunctions, had some incontinence, and I had some other issues related to pelvic floor dysfunction, which kind of were in the mix as well, which obviously weren't helping things. So that was kind of the first time that I really was gripped by depression. And that's the same for a lot of people. And having pelvic floor dysfunction, so things like prolapse, incontinence, pelvic pain, just pain having sex, really does have a major impact on a woman, and can make you lose your confidence, make you lose your confidence in your body. I remember how I look is very important, obviously, in my job, and just generally, I was a hairdresser before I was in health and fitness. So, you know, that whole image for me was really important, and I just really couldn't believe that I looked like I did, even though still squeezing into size 10 jeans, tucking my tummy in because it was so saggy and disgusting and jelly-like. That really did knock my confidence, but also not having the confidence to go out, worrying about wetting myself, worrying about where the next toilet was, not being able to make it, and just not going out in social situations. And then also being very conscious about that area, being possibly a bit smelly and just not being very nice, and not wanting to be intimate with my then partner. So all of those things have a major impact on your mental health. And I already knew I was suffering with postnatal depression, which didn't feel great. That actually, just being labelled with postnatal depression wasn't great, because I felt like I should be in the best place, be so happy because I had these two wonderful babies. So seeking help for that, getting the right supplements, doing things that will improve your symptoms. So for me, I had lots of anxiety. So starting to learn breathing really helped me to be a bit calmer, be a bit more mindful, to try and stop that hamster wheel that was in my head. And so for me, the next time that I really experienced depression was a really big life impact. And just if you think about that now, an event or anything that happens in your life can have a major impact on how you feel. And for me, it was the breakdown of my marriage. But, you know, over the last 18 months, 2 years, we've had this whole pandemic situation going on. And I know that there are plenty of people that are suffering with poor mental health because of it. And so if you have got, even giving birth is a major life event. So that major life event is going to have a really big impact on you, especially if, like in my case, it wasn't all that it was made out to be, or I felt like I should feel a certain way and I wasn't. So, you know, taking into the pot the pandemic, where if you've just had a baby, you're going to probably feel a little bit more isolated. You weren't able to see your family quite as much. You haven't got the help from your family that you might have been able to. It's all very normal to be feeling like life's a little bit too much sometimes. And then obviously having to have a baby to care for is also a really big responsibility. So it's very, very common now for people to have mental health issues. And for me as well, going through the menopause, I've gone through and I'm out the other side, but all of my symptoms started when my cycle stopped. So what they say is when you haven't had a cycle for a year, which it's over a year now, it's probably more nearer 18 months. And it's probably in the last 3 or 4 months that I've really started to get symptoms of the menopause. Obviously that's on hormonal changes. But, you know, I myself kind of thought, oh yeah, I'm through, I'm done, I'm scot-free, it's all good, but it isn't now. So I'm suffering with sleep deprivation. It's like having a baby again. Not being able to sleep properly. What else? Hot sweats, anxiety. Again, that's another depression or mental health related problem, which comes up quite a lot in menopause. So it's really, with all of these things, there's a commonality in that it's a major life event. Something's happened to you physically, and it's kind of left you in a situation that you're not feeling that happy about. Maybe you didn't have the right information before having a baby or before the menopause. And it's been a bit of a shock to you that maybe you've got pelvic floor dysfunction or a prolapse. You feel like there's no one else out there that has this problem, that you don't really know where to get the right information, you don't really know how to help yourself, and it makes you feel, especially I suppose going through COVID, very isolated, and I know we've got the internet, but unable to kind of feel like you can reach out to people. So what I really wanted to say was, it's all about not really relying on medication. Yes, if you really, really need it, go to your GP and have a chat with them, because they'd be the one to talk to about that side of it. But it's kind of thinking about holistically how you can help yourself. Certainly by doing deep breathing. So starting to really think about how we breathe during hypopressives. Using our diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle of emotion, so all of that tension will be held there. So initially when you first start doing it and you start to release the diaphragm, if you can, with hypopressive breathing, you might feel even more emotional. I know for myself, I'd get quite upset, I'd feel tearful when I really tuned into that breathing. But it's because you're releasing some of that tension through the diaphragm and tension through your emotions. For me, I had anxiety, panic attacks. The breathing side of that gets very short and sharp, and you use this upper portion. So everything had got really, really tight and locked. So just practicing that lateral breathing will really, really help mindfully. So you just tune into yourself, but it will also help release some of that emotion. But also, pelvic floor is intrinsically connected to the diaphragm. And so therefore pelvic floor will start to release, oscillate and move, which is what we want with the pelvic floor. We don't want it to be tight. We don't want it to be like rigid and holding everything up, because that's not its job. Its job is to move with you, to create fluid movement and to support. So by releasing that tension, that emotional tension in your diaphragm, you're also releasing and helping that pelvic floor to not be so tight and screwed up and to move with you. So therefore you're going to start to get some of that function back. So it's a really good trick just to practice that lateral breath, to really get yourself to tune in and release some of that emotion. But one side of it may be that you've had quite a traumatic birth. Even if you've had some tears or scars there, you may find you need some scar work release. You may also find that you need some emotional release there as well. So talking therapies can help. NLP was really good. CBT is really good. Depends what you find is your thing. My thing was hypnotherapy. I found hypnotherapy brilliant for helping me with all sorts of emotional issues that were going on, emotional release. And obviously you have to keep working at that. You can't just go for a couple of sessions. You have to keep practicing and doing the recording. So again, that's giving you time to yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes. So emotional release work is really important, especially if you've had really traumatic birth, or maybe if you've had some abuse in that area. You're going to need some sort of release work doing there, not just manual. And obviously some people just can't tolerate that anyway. So really do think about that side of it. I know it sounds a bit woo, but I'm all for the holistic stuff and what works for you really. So hypopressives will massively help, even if you just practice the lateral breath, because you're reconnecting yourself, you're bringing everything back, you're releasing the tension, you're allowing everywhere to function better. And hopefully then that will start to, especially if you're suffering from pelvic floor dysfunction, it will start to help with some of those symptoms, will start to bring your confidence back. So have this knock-on effect on the whole of you, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at you as a whole being and how you can reconnect. And I know in your darkest times, even not in your darkest times, you often can't be bothered to look after yourself. Although you know that's the one thing you probably should do, it's really, really hard to focus in and do that and not just bury head under the duvet and go back to sleep. Get out walking, get out in the daylight and get out walking. I know we don't have a lot of sunshine at this time of year, but there's plenty of autumn leaves to kick through. And then even when those are gone, we've got plenty of lovely crisp days when you can go for a walk, and that really helps you to reconnect and release some of that tension as well. So keeping those stress levels down, doing mindful practices like hypopressive breathing is going to really, really help you. So I think I've kind of covered everything. Anxiety is a weird one though, because for me, going through the menopause, I'd be absolutely fine during the day, and then I go to bed and I have like this, I can't explain it, like gripping anxiety. And obviously I'm trying to manage that with some of the things that I've been doing and some of the things I've been talking about. So supplements, you can take supplements. Again, it's a bit of a minefield, and I've tried quite a lot of different ones that I haven't really had a good response with. But obviously you experiment and find what helps you really. Lots of things that were recommended to me. So I don't really want to make any recommendations, because you can Google and find what supplements you think would work for you and give it a go. But I'm all for kind of holistic, whole body approach, which is, why I'm such a great advocate for hypopressives. We shouldn't be going forward into old age with, mental health issues, hang-ups about our body, feeling like we're getting old so we can't do things, all of that. It's yes, we have to be more careful. Maybe we don't move quite so freely and quickly as we would have done in our 20s, but you can still be doing all of that stuff with a smile on your face, hopefully. So hopefully I've spread some light on some of the things that you might want to do to help yourself. And if you want to come and do any hypopressives or learn to do the breathing, that might help you, then please just come and join a taster session. They're free. All the dates are on the calendar that are on my website. There's a big pink button that says book a free taster session. That takes you through to the calendar and you can book a free session. It's just over an hour and all the dates are up there. So book onto one of those, and you never know. Hypopressives might be that little piece of the puzzle that you had missing that's going to help you to reconnect and help you with your mental health.